Tonight's show and topic of discussion do not necessarily reflect the opinion of Spaced Out Radio, SOR Media, or its hosts. Listener discretion is advised. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are about to take you higher. Broadcasting from the Rocky Mountains of Colorado to you listening around the world. Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays on Spaced Out Radio.
Good evening, Spaced Out Radio. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight.
On our Facebook page at Spaced Out Radio. On Twitter at TessaTNT. And you can subscribe to her YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio for our archives. Now broadcasting from our Mile High Radio Clubhouse on Spaced Out Saturdays with your host, Tessa Nicole Thomas.
Good evening, Spaced Out Radio. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 419.9 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, December 15th, Sunday, December 16th for those of you on the East Coast and beyond, and this is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you guys had a rockin' week, an awesome day, and an even better evening. I am your host, TessaTNT, and I'm live tonight broadcasting from beautiful Bayfield, Colorado. We are 150,000 strong nightly on Spaced Out Radio Network, spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, 99.1 FM WQEE in Noonan, Georgia, 107.7 FM UPRN in Louisiana, Revolution Radio, as well as Deep Talk Radio, which you can find at deeptalkradio.com. You guys don't forget, head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, where you can peruse the Spaced Out Radio store and read the encounter online dealing with everything strange, paranormal, and odd. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we have Shannon Lane as well as Allisa Mask on. And Shannon Lane has been connected to spirit since the age of 4. She has been doing readings off and on for several years as an intuitive medium. With help from guides and angels, Shannon and Alyssa's paths crossed one another and the mentoring ensued. Shannon teaches guided mediumship and intuition work and also is working on her first outlines to teach on a national level this spring for a metaphysical college out of California. Courses offered will be basic mediumship and intro to paranormal. Both Shannon and Allisa have grown and overcame many obstacles since they first met, but the journey of mentor and student has been far more rewarding and knowledgeable than either one could have ever imagined. So, Allisa and Shannon, welcome to the show tonight. So great to have you.
Hey, it's great to be here.
So, we'll start with Shannon. Shannon, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, about your history, and how you came into being a medium?
I can. Coming into being a medium, it's kind of a hard journey to go into. It started when I was about 4, and very connected to spirit at a very young age. I used to have what I would call green mists that floated around my bedroom, and it took years to kind of figure out that they were actually guides and angels protecting and guiding me because I constantly had spirit trying to talk to me. It started out with children and later on developed into other spirits that were just trying to connect, and then it became connections with loved ones. Just the process of development over time. It took a while. It was definitely an interesting journey.
So was your first paranormal experience, like you said, the green fog coming in, or did you see an apparition? Can you tell us a little bit more about your first paranormal experience?
That is the first experience that I can recall that was kind of my light bulb moment. Prior to that, I had actually recently sat down and had a long conversation with my mom about it. I used to play with children that weren't there. Talk to people, give messages, and she would tell me there was nobody there. But the green mists were really the first experience that I can recall where I started kind of questioning myself as to what it was and what made me different.
That's awesome. That reminds me of an experience my daughter had. She talked about a green mist and like some twinkling, sparkling lights, kind of like fireflies. And then she saw these little, she said they were like gremlin sort of things, and they kind of freaked her out. But her grandpa had actually passed away that night, so after that, she just kept getting more and more experiences, so it was pretty interesting. She can not only see the spirits, but she can feel what they're feeling. And that's kind of freaked her out, but she's learned to somewhat deal with it.
Yeah, I've actually... Go ahead, Tessa. I've actually got 12-year-old twin daughters that are just kind of starting their journey in this, and it's a whole lot of conversation and a whole lot of discussion with what they're feeling and what they're starting to get. So I can understand where your daughter's at completely.
And what about you, Allisa? When was your first paranormal experience? When did you realize that you had a gift?
Well, I didn't realize I had a gift until, I guess, I don't even know how many months it's been now. Almost a year ago, I guess. And I had no idea that's what it was until I met Shannon. I kind of thought I was just crazy for the most part. I've always seen things and felt things that I dismissed or chalked up to just normal stuff. And like I said, until I met Shannon, I thought I was just crazy. But I mean, really, that's it. I've always seen things and felt things and known things were there. But I just thought I was paranoid or something was wrong.
Well, and you live in the South, right? Are you in Mississippi?
Yes.
So that's like the Bible Belt area, and it's really hard to find acceptance and openness there, and you're used to hearing from people that it's just your imagination and don't pay attention to that, and to just kind of write it off as you are crazy. I mean, how many people have been stuck in the attic or wherever else because of certain things like this, and their family believing they were crazy back in the old days? But
I know it is hard. There's not much here. Well, really, there's not much here for you to go to for acceptance unless you just find somewhere online or anything like that, because there's not people to go talk to. It's not a discussed thing, and if you try to discuss it, then they like you said, they try to make you think you're crazy or you need to go get on medication, or they'll try to put you somewhere. I mean, it's here, and even still, people just kind of look at you like, are you serious?
So how did you guys end up meeting up and becoming friends and then student and mentor?
Oh. Go ahead, Shannon.
Nope, I'm going to let you answer this one. It's very personal to you. So.
Shannon was at the time doing readings for another team, and I followed that team because I liked watching it, and me and Caden both were very interested in everything that they done, and we done our own little stuff on our own, but watching a team do it was just a lot different, especially it being kind of a Mississippi team was, pretty awesome. And they were doing readings on their page, and it was like a contest thing, if you, the first so many likes and so many shares or whatever. Well, I got a reading, and Shannon done a reading for me, and it was with my daughter. And it was a very personal, it was unreal. It was very surreal. And it gave me everything that I needed, plus more. And that was initially how I met her. And I stayed in communication with her because, like I said, the connection and the things that I got when she done that for me was, it was life-changing for me. And I pretty much stayed in contact after that. And then she had invited us to go on an investigation in Macomb, Mississippi. And we went, and it was done with after that. She was kind of stuck with us. We weren't going anywhere after that one.
Well, it's so awesome when you do find some kindred spirits and someone, along the same lines as you, someone that's had experiences or certain gifts that you've acknowledged, and it's kind of like having another family, like a paranormal family.
Yeah, we're definitely family. Little dysfunctional, but we're definitely a family.
So, when did you start mentoring people, Shannon?
Actually, Alyssa's my first true mentoring. I've given advice on certain things, shielding, opening self up, meditation, but from the moment Alyssa and I connected, I hate to use a magnet, but when you're gifted and you have the sight, you can kind of feel that with other people. And I don't believe in coincidence. And she and I met, and this was the journey and the path we were supposed to take. So she's my first. Sorry, excuse me. She's the first that I've ever actually mentored. And like I said, I've got the group in California that I'm working with and actually want to teach classes, but I don't know that I will necessarily mentor anybody else on that level.
So you're going to be teaching in California. That's pretty exciting.
I'll be teaching it online for a school in California.
Okay. That's funny. My music just turned on by itself.
Yeah.
I'm like, what just happened? I'm on this computer, and this computer just starts playing music. It's paranormal stuff is acting up again.
I'm not surprised.
Right?
Yeah.
We had that going on last week that my microphone didn't want to work, and my guests could hear me, but everybody else could not hear me. And so I was like, okay, well, you guys just carry on with what you're doing, and I'll try to get this fixed. And we ended up getting it worked out as far as I had to call myself. And then I ended up rebooting my computer and unplugging and replugging my mic in, and it decided to work after that. So I don't know. It was really odd. I had done nothing differently on there. I don't know why it changed. I can just accumulate it to paranormal stuff because I'm just so used to it happening here. Do you guys, by chance, live in a haunted house, or do you have spirits come to visit you?
All the time?
I shouldn't say yes.
Yeah.
I don't think I've lived in a non-haunted house, for lack of a better way to put it, but I've never lived anywhere that wasn't active.
So can you tell us a little bit about some of the stories that have happened in your house, some of the experiences that you've had?
You want to start, or you want me to go, Alyssa?
Oh, go ahead. Mine are just visitors
We just moved into this house in September of this year, and we actually have cameras in place, security cameras, and we have lights come on and lights go off. We have orbs that'll go out of one room into another room, bounce back, and go through windows, and you can actually see them outside. We have disembodied voices. We have myths. We've seen apparitions upstairs. And that's just this house. The house we were in prior to this house, we had a man that passed from cancer. And he did not leave the house. And when we first moved in, he wasn't real happy that we moved in. But when we got ready to leave, he wasn't real happy that we were leaving. And it's funny because if I went several days without cooking or cleaning the house, he was old school. He would get a little irritated. And he would literally turn the stove on and the stove off. And you would walk into my kitchen and the cabinets would all be kind of propped open. And after about a year or so, we figured out that he liked the house very tidy and me in the kitchen cooking. So
wow. Yeah, kind of like that should have been your place back in his day. Like, why don't you go to the kitchen and make something to eat? Do you guys ever put anything out for him as some sort of an offering, or do you acknowledge him to let him know he's there?
We never put out any offerings for him, but we got to where we would talk to Mr. Clay. We would acknowledge him. My daughters would acknowledge him. We would be like, okay, Mr. Clay, we'll clean the house now. Just little subtle things to let him know that we knew he was there. When we left, we did invite him to come visit us here and, told him that we had a conversation with him about the new person that was moving in. So it becomes bittersweet because they almost become part of your everyday normal.
Yeah, we have a spirit here as well that had passed away. He died from emphysema, and I had no knowledge of him until one day I'm here by myself, and I got ready for work, and I was leaving, and as I was going out the gate's right next to my bedroom window, and I heard a man coughing in my bedroom, and it made me jump, and I was like, holy shnikes, I'm glad I'm going to work right now, because I don't know who the heck is in my house. And I told my neighbor sister Lisa about my experience, and she's like, oh yeah, that's just John. He passed away from emphysema, yada yada, and told me what a nice guy he was and everything. And so I felt more at peace and at home with him. And he's never really been threatening. He's kind of scared the kids a couple times just by appearing, and you can feel him watching you quite often from the hallway. But otherwise, we haven't had any bad luck with him. We've had other things come into our house that weren't so nice, but he's always been a nice, friendly guy.
That's good. Yeah, we've had things here that I thought were not so nice initially, but I did a cleansing and it's kind of passed. I think maybe we brought something home from a location once, but right after I did the cleansing, it dissipated. It's no longer here, so.
And what happened with...
It can be scary sometimes.
Yeah, I've had things follow me home as well. What was your experience with that? What happened with the entity that had followed you home?
It got dark, for lack of a better way to put it. It just seemed to anger everybody in the house, and just that we had a couple of dark mists appear, and I've never had that before. Mm-hmm. Just seemed like just kind of a mask that just hung over, and I went through and done a cleansing, and because my husband was really irritable, and we normally don't go through that, and cleaned the house and did a cleansing, and it just as quickly as it came, it had left. So we haven't had any more issues. I did have a bad dream. Matter of fact, I have reached out to Alyssa because I had a real bad dream one night, and the next day is when I did the cleansing, and I haven't had any problems since.
Alyssa, can you tell us a little bit about that?
About Shan's dream?
Yeah. And about how you had helped her out with that.
Well, she had just I won't speak thoroughly on what the dream was about. I will, but I mean, I can explain some of it. It was it was very personal and it was very scary. It was with about someone or to do with someone that she loved a whole lot, and it was just really terrifying, to be honest, for her and for me. She woke up, I guess the first night she had it, she woke up around like 2:40ish in the morning or so. And it's strange because, you hear us talk about how we're family all the time and how we're so connected. And in reality, there's no better way to say it because we are. She woke up that night, and so did I. And when I went back to sleep, I was dreamwalking in what Shannon had going on. And when she contacted me, and we talked about it, we agreed that I could go in and try to give it a name and figure out exactly what all was going on that next night when she went to bed. And I did. And, when I told her and we figured out what was going on and what was happening, like she said, she did the cleansing. And so far, it's worked and everything has been good since.
I think it's interesting how you can bring something home and you do notice the change in your atmosphere as far as people's attitudes and the increase in contention between people and all the different random things that happen. And it makes you wonder what the heck's going on. And, with teenagers in the house, you kind of try to account it to that, but then you realize it's something more when other things start happening. And then, like you said, the dreams, where the heck did that come from? Why did I have that dream? Right. And then you wake up sleepwalking, that has to be pretty scary.
I think sometimes, a lot of people don't like to believe it, but in most, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, you your gut feeling, your intuition, you just have this feeling that something that just doesn't seem right, and you just keep looking for something normal to blame it on. But most of the time, your gut feeling is going to tell you, that something isn't right, something's wrong, and you just know.
When we were talking about the music turning on just a minute ago, and then Shannon said she had that experience. Well, Vivian in the chat room at SOR Space Travelers was saying, I had the same thing happen with my phone 2 nights ago. Wasn't even listening to any ads or music, and all of a sudden it started playing music. Stunned the hell out of her. So it's interesting how those things just happen. It's like, hello, I'm here.
Oh, yeah.
And Dell's wondering in the chat room as well, how do you keep from bringing things home?
You're never guaranteed not to bring something home. I think in the paranormal world, we have all come to that conclusion. Be prepared to, but you also go in, you learn how to protect yourselves, you learn how to protect your crew, family, if you will. You take precautions. We pray. We do meditation exercises when we're not on investigations so that we can enter each other's space to protect one another. We pray before every investigation. We pray after every investigation. We use cleansing tools. We'll use sage. We use palo. Many, many different things. We keep in very, very close contact with each other and ask constantly, are you guys okay? Does everything feel okay? One thing in our 9 months of doing this, we have learned very much to rely on our energy and the feelings that we're getting. And so far, they've been spot on. We've left locations because of how they felt. And you've got to learn your team. You've got to learn yourselves, and you've got to understand how energy works. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We will, a lot of times, having not even spoke, we'll send each other a message. Are you okay? Just because we know they're not. We just, you just kind of get with your gut, and your intuition tells you that they're not. And they're normally not. So when you're around somebody like that and you become so close, so involved in something that means so much to you, you just learn each other. I don't know how else to put it. You learn each other.
And it's so important to be in touch and in tune with each other, so you can protect each other, because a lot of times you're in denial. It's okay, nothing's happening, or maybe something is, and someone from the outside looking in can see better than you that there is obviously something happening and you need some sort of help or protection or whatnot. It's a very interesting thing. So how did you first come to found and create Death Stalkers Paranormal?
That's a good question. I have worked with another team for several years, and it's kind of funny. I literally had a calling one day that wanted to do something other than readings, and watch the shows on TV like everybody does. And I was like, I've never really gone into a location and tried to read a location. So I did that with another team for a while. And boundaries have been set that were not boundaries that I cared to have set against me, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. I'm trying to be nice here. So I decided it was time to branch out on my own, and Alyssa, Caden, and Lisette had all come into my life by that point, and I knew that this team was what needed to happen, and these were the people that I needed to bring in, and we needed to start something. And I think we all had already been keyed into it, because it's funny, the moment that I reached out to each one of them and said, do y'all want to do this? It was, yeah. So that's how we became. It was a calling. This team was a calling.
Caden was saying, lame and ungifted we are, but I mean, a lot of times you kind of like to think less of yourself than, we're our own worst critics, but, I think all of you guys have these really amazing gifts, and they're really unique to each one of you guys as individuals. Can you kind of run us through your team, who's a part of your team, and what exactly their jobs are?
I can. We actually have, I'll start, let's see, Alyssa and Caden kind of came in together. They kind of go together, if you will. Alyssa is who I'm mentoring. She is a very gifted and growing medium. She's also very intuitive, very empathic, along with some other gifts that she's working on. Caden is our tech guy. He can see, feel, and sense things kind of honestly before the rest of us will in a lot of occasions. We'll go into a place and, he claims to be ungifted, but he has some guidance that kind of leads him that he just doesn't quite listen to yet. I don't know. He's a little stubborn. And then Lisette's kind of our healer, if you will. She kind of is the one. She's mama. She kind of watches over the group. She's our prayer, and she puts out a bubble like nobody's business that she doesn't even realize she's doing it. And she can kind of sense anger and kind of the negative energies. and she'll pick up on that stuff just as quickly as Alyssa and I will. So and she's also our historian. Everybody on my team has a gift, and they all have their job and their place, and they just make us what we are. I can't say enough about them.
Yeah, Caden's in here saying,
I love you guys.
Caden's in there saying, I'm a lame-o, but I think sometimes people are in denial about their gifts and they don't know quite how to embrace them, and they don't realize exactly how gifted they are. I know I've watched you guys a few times on the internet, and I saw Caden doing the sensory deprivation experiment where he put the blindfold on so he can kind of sense and feel more things. Do you find that actually helps and that actually does work?
It does. And that is the first and only time Caden's actually done that, and we're going to do that some more. But, yes, absolutely. It gave him the opportunity to kind of shut down every other sense and just, for lack of a better way to put it, listen to what was going on in his head and to feel and to sense. He had been in that basement, I think, twice prior to that, and maybe 5-10 minutes total. And he was able to point out locations and sense things and feel things. I think he impressed himself when he took the blindfold off with what he had gotten. I think everybody should experience, something like that to kind of learn and guide as to what their gifts really are.
Yeah, I think it's a great experience to do, and I know people use, even though they have the blindfold on, they'll tie someone to a chair, or they'll kind of restrict them in some way, and put them in a certain area so they can't fight it or whatever is trying to encumber upon them or whatnot. Have you guys tried that as well, like tying someone to a chair, or do you just do the blindfold and kind of hold their hand and walk them around? Can you kind of walk us through that experience?
We haven't tied anybody to a chair or done anything like that. There is actually a location that I do want to try something like that at. That's kind of in the future. With Caden's the first person that we've actually ever blindfolded, and we've never done it again since then. I think that is a wonderful experience to work on. A lot of what we do with our sensory deprivation is allowing a portal or a spirit box to play. And we, wear headphones and speak while the others are asking questions. We'll speak what we're getting through the spirit box and, put the questions with the answers, so to speak. That's what we do with our sensory deprivation.
And Alyssa, I saw that you had actually tried that the same night. For some reason, I'm seeing a mirror in my head. You kind of sitting next to a mirror or something, but maybe I'm just imagining that part. What was your experience with the sensory deprivation?
I enjoy them. I kind of get lost in them, but not in a scary way. Sometimes it's similar to, I guess, channeling is the best, right, Chan? If you get one, if you have a spirit that manipulates the energy of the device that we're using for it strong enough, it becomes really easy to channel in and hone in on that energy and pay attention solely to it. And it's very clear. It's very thorough. I get lost in it. And Caden and Lisette and Shannon, that apparently my voice changes when I'm doing them to what I'm hearing, and they can usually kind of tell, who, whether I'm really speaking to who they say they are or whatever the case may be. But my experiences with them have been awesome. We've had a couple that were pretty rough, and the team will usually kind of pull me out of it if it is. And I think Shannon's had a few that were rough, because I know we've had to pull her out of one or two because we could tell that it was getting kind of notchy. And then sometimes you have like entirely too many trying to speak at one time, and they're talking over each other, and you have to like basically tell them to step back. And everybody can, it's like being in a class with a bunch of people. You have to tell them everybody's going to eventually get to speak. Just wait your turn and back up. But I enjoy doing them. I enjoy, we've done a lot of sessions with them, and we've got a lot of really good answers to questions that we had on an investigation with them. So I enjoy them. They're one of my favorite things that we do as a team.
Well, Dell in the chat room was asking, rough like how?
We did one. Let's see. I had a trickster, I believe. Isn't that what we called him?
Yes.
That kept trying to get me to acknowledge him at one of our investigations, and he had already made it very clear what he was there for, what he was, and anytime that we did especially with any device at all, with anything for him to manipulate at all, he was there. I mean, wide open. And you could feel the energy shift in the room as soon as, you would start communicating and he would come through. Everybody in the room would get just fatigued and sickly, and it was rough. It was bad.
He's asking, was that? Oh, I'm sorry, Shannon. He was asking, is that like a poltergeist, or was that just a spirit that just had this certain intent or energy about it?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
We considered him to actually have been a negative energy entity, a soul collector. He attempted to tell us that he was a demon. Every opportunity he got, he tried to convince us that he was a demon. And up until that point, we would kind of acknowledge him, because when you do have negative spirits, you try to figure out why they're there and what you can do to make them leave. But once he crossed that line, we quit giving him any recognition. And we were actually doing sessions, Allisa and I both, where he was coming through the portal, he was coming through the spirit box, and we would push him back. And when we say it got rough, he was talking over everybody coming through there. And you can watch myself and Allisa, and we'll start breathing heavy. We get kind of rapid. You can kind of almost tell if our eyes are open or if our eyes closed. We get kind of jerky eye movements. It gets harder to speak through when you have an energy like that, basically monopolizing and taking over the session. Many times we'll take ourselves out, but sometimes we get so engrossed in what we're doing and what we're trying to get through that somebody else will come in and kind of take us out. I hope that makes sense.
Have you guys ever seen kind of like, when you're wearing the bandana, have you seen kind of like a picture show, little flashes of pictures, different things coming through like that to send you a message? Or do you hear voices? I know sometimes it's one on top of the other, and you got to kind of tell them to stand in line. That's happened with the spirit box with Bill Hauser as well a couple times. And you actually heard this female ghost in there say, come on, one at a time. We'll take turns, basically. And so that was really interesting that there was someone on the other side trying to keep everyone in line, instead of him having to say it. But do you see kind of like a picture show, little flashes of pictures to send messages through, or do you get words? How exactly do you get your messages through that?
I actually do. I get both. It completely depends on the location and who's trying to get messages through to me. A lot of times I'll get like flashes. It reminds me of like an old real movie. I'll see like, things that played out. I'll get messages. A lot of times it's easy, single sentences, single words. And I don't know why Spirit likes to play with me, but they will send me symbols that drive me crazy. I will search and search and search until I figure out what these symbols mean. But I get symbols a lot. I think she gets hers a little bit different than I do, so I'll let Allisa talk about hers.
I get the images, and sometimes they're kind of like Shannon said, the old movie reel. Then sometimes it's like being there and nobody can see you. You're just kind of standing there watching something happen in somebody else's life. That sounds really weird. And the first time it happened, it was really weird. Well, actually, the first, second, third, and fourth time it happened, it was really, really weird. And eventually, you just kind of get used to it. But then sometimes, if it's something really short, and not very detailed, it's more of a flash of somebody taking pictures in front of your face and just kind of sliding them. Shannon gets symbols, and I get a lot of numbers, but my numbers are kind of strange. The very first time it ever happened to me, I was like, what is this thing? I didn't know what it was. It was a lap counter. It's like a little silver thing with the clicker on it.
I remember that.
And it would like go up. The numbers would go but there was nothing clicking it. The numbers would just go up. And then it would clear and it would go to 0 and another set of numbers would come up, and it was so strange. And I remember it so clearly because I woke Caden up at like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, and I was like, I don't know what this thing is or what is happening. But I had like this whole sheet of numbers wrote down of like different number sequences. It was so strange. And now anytime that I get numbers visually, that's how I get them, is a lap counter. And then sometimes I don't see anything. I just hear it. And then sometimes I forget everybody else can't hear it when I can. And I'm like, well, did you hear that? Did you hear what she said? Did you hear what he said? And Caden, and sometimes Shannon and Lisette will be like, no, or even my mom. And then I have a lot of visions and dreams. That's happened a lot and a lot more quite frequently and recently. And I mean, sometimes you smell things, sometimes you taste them. Sometimes, I mean, it's kind of like what Shan said, when it depends on the location and who's trying to come through. There's a lot of truth in that too, because sometimes I've had to, I don't know, I guess train myself for some of it, because sometimes you'll go somewhere and like Hayden or Lisette will say, the energy feels really heavy in here. And you start connecting with a spirit that's there that wants to communicate. And if it's something that is tragic and sad and deep and dark, I have felt the emotions and the pain and the agony, and it's like it's just like it would be if you were feeling it. So you have to kind of remind yourself and train yourself to know that it's not your life thing that you're feeling. It's something else that's there that you're feeling, if that makes sense.
And Michael was asking, when it comes through, is it like vibrations or frequency?
Both.
Yeah, a lot of times it's frequencies, but I think Allisa would agree with me. When we're at a higher vibration, the frequency comes through much clearer. I hope that makes sense. The more together we are going into a location, the higher we're vibrating, the more clear what we get back is.
Yeah, and it really is important. I've heard that quite often, to raise your vibration, and it does help things come through quite often. How does one raise their vibration?
The happier you are, the higher your vibration is going to be. Laughter is the highest vibration there is. If you've got a team of negative people going in to a location, all you're going to pick up on is negativity if you pick up on that. The higher you're able to produce your vibration and go into a location or a reading, the more apt you are to pick up on those other frequencies and those other vibrations and be able to pull it in and being able to process it. I've been sick and have been able to pull in energy and vibration, but not be able to process it just because I wasn't able to get myself to a place to be able to do that. So it's very important.
So I was asking Allisa earlier how exactly you've mentored her. Are you teaching her astral and such? And she said she actually kind of accidentally came into the astral before you guys even got into that. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Allisa?
Yeah. So I'm not going to lie, I don't remember what meditation I was doing, but it was one that Shan had me doing. And it had nothing to do with astral. Actually, I do remember. It was like a grounding and shielding focus, and they were guided meditations. And it was something that I did every day at that time. Like, it was every single day. Sometimes I would do it 2 or 3 times a day, because at that time I had a lot of work to put in. And it just accidentally happened. I didn't know that's what it was. I had done the guided meditation, and before I realized it, I had been outside for about 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know what happened, but this is what happened, and this is what I've seen, and I don't know what's going on. And that's what had happened. I hit the remote viewing stage for all of probably 5 seconds, and it was like fast forward to everything. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit, because I didn't understand what was going on, and it was completely different from anything else that I had done, thus far at that time, with the meditations I was doing and the work that I was doing and the progress I was making. Astraling was way different than, what I had been doing. It scared me a good bit. I think I called Shannon like 5 times back to back to back because she didn't answer the first time. And I was just freaking out so bad. And I don't know, looking back at it now, it's kind of funny. But at the time, it was terrifying.
Caden was saying you were trying to help him meditate so he could astral, and then you started astraling somewhat unintentionally.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny how that happens. You're trying to help someone do something, and then all of a sudden it hits you like a ton of bricks.
See, like, he was having a hard time trying to get, like, just his mind to clear. And so I have started doing some of my meditations that Shannon would send me with him. And yeah, it is strange, but yeah, that's how it happened.
Yeah, I've been very interested in your guys' team and all of the things that you guys have been through. I think when you guys were talking to that entity, it was actually on Facebook Live, and you actually were doing the, what was it, the flashlight experiment, where you have them answer through the flashlight, and it just came on when you asked, I think it was Caden that asked, if it was a demonic spirit or whatnot. And then all of a sudden he was just like, holy crap, when it did come on. What house was that you were at? What was the location?
That was the Monroe.
Yeah, that was Monroe House.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very interesting and active house. I actually kind of got to know the girls that were caretaking and trying to get it up to par. Did you guys get to hang out and meet with them and kind of work with them a little bit? Or how exactly did that venture go for those in the chat room and such that weren't able to witness that?
Actually, the people that own the Monroe House, I don't know if we're talking about the same house, Tessa. It's in Indiana. And it's owned by a couple, and we have actually grown to know, and Eddie and Pam are kind of family. And we actually have quite a bit of work that we are going to try to do with the Monroe House. We actually did some crossovers while we were there. And we've been asked to come back and cross over some more spirit. And that house is a prime example of good versus evil. And the attempt is, we've actually got another team that we're talking to that wants to come in with us, and we are going to attempt to get rid of the negative that's in the home. The problem is they let a lot of different teams go in that house, and not every team has the same mindset. This is where I'll go into, there's a difference between a paranormal investigator and a ghost hunter. And unfortunately, I think we can get rid of the negativity that's in the home. I'm just not sure that it won't come back.
So the house,
people that have that house are wonderful people.
Yeah, the house I'm thinking about, there's a crew of girls that have a paranormal team as well, and they were actually living there and cleaning it up, basically, and doing investigations off and on. Is this the same house where a young girl was killed, supposedly by her brother, but they're not quite sure if it was him or perhaps a spirit or whatnot? Is that the same place or no?
No, it's not the same place.
Okay. All right, so I'm thinking of a completely different house. What is the backstory on the Monroe house?
Oh, wow. Oh, where to begin? This house was built in the 1800s. It was actually turned into... let me backtrack a little bit. Now, mind you, Tessa, I don't know all of the history on the house because Allisa and I are mediums. We try not to know everything about a house, if that makes sense, because we don't want to skew what we get when we go into a location. But because of the different times I've been there and the stuff that I've picked up on, I do know some of the history. It was built in the 1800s by a man that was fairly significant in the town. He actually owned a distillery in the town, which ironically was one of the symbols that I picked up. And The house was later on turned into a triplex. There are no deaths on record that occurred in that house, but the homeowners know of at least 5 that happened there. They know of a baby, 3 people that came up missing, and 3 suicides. When it was a triplex, there was devil worshiping going on in one of the apartments. There has been witches that were on the dark side that lived in the home. This house was the house that was on paranormal lockdown where they found the bones in the basement. So there was several sets of bones that were found in the basement. This house has connections to a serial killer.
Mm-hmm. Was that the same one where they found like a hair entangled in like a some sort of locket and necklace buried as well as the bones?
Yes,
that's
and
creepy.
a pair of bloody shorts, yes. Yeah, I've actually, Allisa and I both held the necklace and the shorts. One of the hardest things I ever did was holding that necklace. I broke down into tears in session and felt everything that little girl felt.
Well, I have to interrupt you right now because we got to go to our first commercial break, but I'd love to pick back up on that when we come back. Okay. So you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
Looking for nighttime adventure? Old school radio that delves into everything out of the norm? Then check us out at Spaced Out Radio. This is Dave Scott. Every Monday through Friday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, we're going to take you on a wild ride ranging from conspiracies to true crime and every ghost, alien, and Sasquatch story in between. We're always live, and we're always interactive with you. So join us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, we own the night.
Hey, guess what? You can now get your brand new Spaced Out Radio swag at spacedoutradio.com. We've brought the store back with all new items for you to pick out and pick up for yourself, your family, or friends. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, we got it all. All you have to do is head to our website and click on Store. Choose what you want and it's shipped to you. The Spaced Out Radio store is right there for you. Come shop with us at spacedoutradio.com. Then we can own the night together.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com. If you're heading to Vancouver, make sure you stop by the official bar of Spaced Out Radio, the Moose Vancouver. It's the place to party in YVR. At the corner of Nelson and Granville, the Moose Vancouver is always up to speed with a kitchen staff that serves great food. All food on the menu, $6.95 to $8.95. There's a reason the Moose Vancouver is recognized as one of the hottest spots on the West Coast. Get your horns up for the Moose Vancouver.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You can follow Tessa on Twitter at TessaTNT, on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, back to Spaced Out Weekend host, Tessa Nicole Thomas.
Here's a sound again
dancing in my head. Hey guys, welcome back. So great to have you tonight. Tonight we're talking to Shannon and Alyssa from Death Stalkers Paranormal, and they have an interesting relationship as far as mentor and student. So great to have you ladies back tonight, and you're both so very beautiful and intriguing. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Thanks for having us. Absolutely.
So we're talking, when we went on to break, about this necklace and the hair wrapped around it on different shows that we've watched on TV, Destination America and such. They're saying the guy killed his girlfriend and put her hair and locket into a hole next to her bones, but you guys are saying it could have been a younger girl and perhaps one of his first victims. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and the feelings that you got off of it?
Yeah, I actually picked up on a little girl that I would say was probably 14, 15. The images that she showed me were horrendous. I saw it had to have been in the 1970s, 80s time frame, or at least the vehicle was, because I could actually see her in the back of a vehicle, turned around going away from location. I saw her get hit in the back of the head. and I saw her begging for her mom. And I saw what appeared to be her being put in a grave over the top of another grave, and an angel with her wings spread out looking over her. So I assume it would have been a tombstone, what I was actually seeing. So I think they were clever enough to take these girls that they killed and buried them in a cemetery on top of a fresh grave. But the things that came through that were very significant was I actually saw a bowling pin, a rec yard, the angel looking down, and there was a carousel, but what I was seeing on the carousel was actually an elephant. It wasn't a horse. So I've actually tried to put pieces together to see if I could figure out locations. It's just weird how this young girl showed me all of these things, but it was just so profound. The feeling of her knowing that she was dying and all she wanted was her mom. And I basically came to in complete and utter tears. I felt everything she felt. And that was the first and I hope the last time I ever feel anything like that.
Yeah. My daughter had a, I want to say similar experience, but not quite. Like a lot of times when kids are taken and kidnapped and then, you know, abused or murdered, they're always calling out for their parents. They just want their mom. They just want their dad, you know, whoever they're closest to. And it's such a sad, heartbreaking experience to feel that. But my daughter, I did this experiment. It's where you use soundtracks to encourage spirits to come out. And we're at this battlefield in Prairie Grove, Arkansas, and I'm playing these Civil War battle sounds, and you can hear cannons, gunfire, people screaming, people getting into formation, etc. And all of a sudden, the spirit ran past my car. Unfortunately, I didn't see it. I sensed a lot of energy, and I could see through my flare camera the explosions going on behind the tree line that we were at. We were kind of in this little ravine where they'd all go and hide during the battles to try to protect themselves. But my daughter Nova, she was probably 12 at the time, and she's like, "Please, can we go? Please take me home. Please just take me now. I'm so scared." And I was like, "Don't be afraid. Like, we're all going to be ghosts someday." And she's like, "I'm not afraid that I saw the ghost. I'm afraid because I felt what he was feeling." And she could feel the pure anxiety and fear for his life that he was feeling at that moment. And it really made me feel guilty for playing those songs and putting him through that again, you know. I just hated doing that to him. I didn't expect that to happen. I expected some sort of activity, but to put him through that turmoil again, it was just, you know, it really wasn't in the forefront of my mind. I really didn't put that into account, that could have, you know, put that certain feeling or experience back into his afterlife, you know. It was sad, but she could feel it, and that's what really scared her, was the feeling of him just wanting to get away, wanting to be protected.
It's a feeling of absolute horror. I don't even know how else to explain it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I felt so bad for doing that, not only to her, but to him, and I don't know. I'm going to go back and apologize to him when I go back to Arkansas someday, because I really do still feel bad about that. I feel so bad because I really hate that I did that to him. I didn't expect that to happen. I expected some sort of activity, but I didn't really think about what kind of emotion that I was going to put out there, what kind of anxiety and turmoil or whatnot. So Dell in the chat room was asking, can you please talk about the ethics of crossing ghosts over?
Alyssa, I'll let you take this one.
The epics, by that, does he mean like the best part? Well, Shannon, she usually crosses them. She usually crosses them over with the flashlight because it's easier for them. And I do the flashlight and that with some of the astral stuff that I have learned with the classes that I took a while back, I learned how to astrally kind of go in and form my own portal bubble thing to use. I don't like either one of them better or any. I mean, I just whichever one seems right at the time, I guess, is what we use. But most of the time, I think every location we've went to, just about, we've had at least one spirit come through and request for that, because I think a lot of the times they don't realize that they have free will to go if that's what they want to do. And they need kind of a push, kind of like a child that doesn't know, like when you're trying to teach a kid how to walk, you know, and they're walking, holding on to stuff, and they don't realize that they can let go of it and go. Kind of this, in my mind, it's the same concept of that. But like when we use the flashlight, we'll explain to them what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I'm going to say all of them we've been able to see, like these little orbs going towards the flashlight, and it looks like it's just running directly into it. But it's more or less just explaining to them and making them feel safe so that they can leave, I guess, and explaining to them that they don't have to stay where they're at, that they can go to a place that is peaceful and where their family is at or their loved ones, and then there's angels and people that love them there. It's the best way I know how to explain it.
Shannon, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I guess I can. The reason that I use the flashlight when doing a crossover, first of all, it's visual. It's something that everybody that's there can see and watch. When they do the crossover, the flashlight will go out and it will not come back on. I know most people have seen a flashlight session. You can physically see the orbs go into it. The flashlight goes off. It does not come back on. A lot of times when you're doing a crossover, kind of like Alyssa was saying, spirits many times don't realize that at this point they have free will. A child spirit, many times I've learned with slave spirits, some Native American spirits do not understand the concept of that they have free will and they can go. And if they do go, that they can come back and still communicate. So a lot of times it's just giving them that understanding, that explanation, and it's literally explaining to spirit to go to the light and to be greeted by the loved ones that are there waiting for them. And our team has done it successfully every time, but the last attempt we tried to do, we had a soul collector that would not allow them to go through. We are actually going back to that location in February, and hopefully we can take care of the soul collector first and then allow the ones that want to cross the crossover. If they want to cross over, we'll cross them over. If they don't, if they don't. That's all I got.
And I've heard different people say, the light is a trap, and I really don't see, I don't know, I don't understand that thought process. I think the light, some people are meant to go to it, and maybe that's where we go to recycle, or maybe that's where we go to be with our families. I'm not sure what happens when you go into it, but I mean, there's got to be a better place than here, and a lot of people, I think, hang out here because they have unfinished business, or they want to look over their family, or maybe they just like it here, but I think there's something more to it. Do you guys have any idea what's on the other side of the light?
To me, I see the light as an energy source, and I just see it, the other side as being just a pure form of the highest vibration and energy there is. Lots of love, lots of laughter, being with those that you care and love, and it's just kind of a euphoria.
Allisa, did you have anything else to add to that as well?
Not a whole lot. I mean, Shan covered it pretty good. You know, it's to me, it's just another. It seems, when you talk about it, it sounds and seems like it's somewhere, you know, so far away, but for me, it's not. It's just a different vibration than what a mass percentage can see or feel. I think and believe that spirit has the ability to, you know, I don't think that just because, like, they're here or they come forward, or like I've done readings for people before where, you know, they want to know if they're at peace and if they've crossed over, and I have asked spirit before and been told yes. I think that they have the ability to come forward and speak if that's what they want to do. But that doesn't necessarily always mean that they're not crossed over. Are there some, and plenty of, that are not? Yes. But there's also some that have and know how to go back. You know, they're not stuck. They can go back whenever they finish doing what they came to this vibration to do. If that makes sense.
I had a friend that had passed away. It's like 5 times already. He's had heart attacks, passed away. The last time he was out for more than 30 minutes, and so he tends to repeat himself. I'll refer to him as Jack Mackerel because he doesn't like his real name being said on the air, but he had asked me, he's like, how come each time I died, there was no light, there was no family members there wasn't this, there wasn't that, and to me, I just felt like it wasn't your time. You weren't meant to go, so these things didn't happen for you. Do you feel like that could be true?
I do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, he felt kind of left out. He's like, how come I didn't experience that? Nobody came to tell me anything. It was just darkness. He could see the nurses and the doctors working on him. He could hear them talking to him, but he didn't see any family members, no light, nothing like that. And I was like, it just wasn't your time.
Right.
Yeah, so I was just like, don't feel bad. It wasn't your time. It'll happen someday.
No, they were trying to get him back here.
Yeah. He's still got a lot to share.
If he got to see it, he probably wouldn't want to come back.
Right? Because people do, when you hear of people that do cross over and they do see their family members and they go past the light, they just feel that sense of peace and they just want to stay there, and they felt nothing like it before in their lives, and they're just so happy and content. And then all of a sudden they're rushed back and they're like, hey, wait a minute. How come I'm back here again? It wasn't your time. Some people get to experience it and some people don't, because perhaps their draw to it might be too strong. And like I was saying before, Jack Mackerel has a lot to share. He's my conspiracy guy and he helps me with all that stuff, but he's so awesome. He's got this awesome energy, and I know he will experience it someday. It's just not his time yet.
Right.
Well, where shall we go from here?
I agree.
So, what has your guys' journey been like together, going through this trial basically to enlightenment? What things and what steps have you taken with Allisa to get her to this point she's at now? Well,
Allisa kind of does things on her own sometimes, so like the astral and stuff, because honestly, I wouldn't have taken her there yet, but that's okay. It's a journey of you kind of start out learning yourself. I think it's definitely becoming comfortable in your own skin, and then from there, it's a lot of baby steps. Learning to meditate, learning to create the bubble, learning to ground, learning to connect with spirit, learning when you're doing a reading that you're not only connecting with spirit, but you're connecting with the person that you're doing the reading for. Learning to be able to pull back so that you don't get too much information when you're reading a person. Learning to be humbled and understanding that it's a gift, and just as easily as it's given, it can be taken away. There's a lot of steps to it. It's a journey, and I believe everybody is gifted. I believe we all just are gifted in different ways, and you as the mentor take on and learn their skill set, and you have to kind of tweak it to them. And Alisa, she just kind of, when her feet hit the floor, she has not stopped yet. So she just, she's an excellent student. She takes what I give her. Instead of taking it tenfold, she takes it 100-fold.
I really don't know what to say. Shocking. I don't know what to say because, I didn't know, Shan spoke earlier about, the fact that she met me and connected with me through the reading with my daughter, that she knew, with her guidance and her intuition, she just knew. I did not know that until way after I was working with her and doing things with her. She sat back and waited on me to come to her. And which is, at the time, I was like, well, that's really weird. But it's not, to me, it's not weird now. But at the time, I was like, that is kind of weird. But she sat and waited on me to come to her. She knew I would. I had always, I would always tell Caden different things that I would dream about, or different things that I sensed, or different things that I felt. And finally, he was like, well, why don't you just message Shan and talk to Shan about it, and come to find out, she already knew. And I started talking to her, and she started giving me, really small things to do, I guess, pretty much to start. What that was, looking back, was to dull down, my ego, and because we all have one, even if you don't think you do, and start learning more about my inner self, and kind of hold on to it, was the first couple of things that I really started working on. And then things just kind of, when she said my feet hit the ground, she wasn't lying, because it happened so fast. It was insane. And not all of it was pretty. Some of it was really hard, and it's a lot of work personally. And it was very emotional. I would have things from my past that would come to me that, you tell yourself that you've dealt with or something. You really do think you've dealt with it. And then come to find out you really haven't. You've buried it deep inside of yourself, and when you're opening yourself up with these things, all of that kind of floods back, and it was that part of it was really, really hard. And I think I leaned more on Shannon during that. I probably drove her nuts because I think I know she didn't sleep for like 2 months because I didn't sleep, and I stayed on the phone with her at all hours of the night and would be calling her and waking her up because I would wake up and my body would be in just physical pain and I would be sick, and I would be just begging her. I was like, can we please just make this stop? Something's wrong. This isn't normal. And she's like, I promise you it is, but if you really want, if you really want to quit, we'll quit. And I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know. I mean, it was hard. That part of it was hard. It's, the best way to put all of it in perspective is that it is a stunningly beautiful journey, but it is a raw, stunningly beautiful journey. It's and when she says, self-acceptance and self-love, that is two of the hardest things I think I ever went through. And what is mind-boggling is, like I said a while ago, you have things in your life that you go through and you think that you have dealt with them, and you really haven't. And then it's all that comes back at you, and you have these overwhelming feelings of everything, and then it's super heightened, and you have to allow yourself to not just be okay, but be happy with yourself, and allow yourself to have full acceptance of yourself. And those were really hard for me personally. But Shan was awesome because, like I said, I called her for like 2 months at all hours of the night, and she would be on the phone with me, and I would be just squalling because I would wake up and, I didn't know what was going on, and I was scared, very, very scared. And one of them particularly was a physical inner cord cutting that I would have told anybody they were lying to me had they told me I had not already done that.
Right.
Until I went through it. And that one particular one itself lasted for like 3 weeks. And
goodness,
I even had to call into work because I was so sick. I couldn't get out of bed. It was really rough at the time, and I thought it was horrible. But looking back at it, where I stand now, it was actually a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing that changed me in nothing but the better.
That's so awesome. Vivian in the chat room was saying she's never been able to fully understand why she's felt extremely homesick for heaven her entire corporal life. Anyone have any ideas on why she feels this way?
She's probably misinterpreting feelings in the vibrations that she's getting. A lot of times our spiritual journey we see as being heaven, but it's kind of what Allisa was talking about. It has to do a lot with your self-love and letting go of some of that angst that holds you back from feeling that positivity and going through and digging within yourself and finding that inner spiritual peace. It's when you go through that, you feel a whole lot different. That's the best way I can think to explain it. There's also the possibility that she just has a soul connection that is still in heaven, and she feels connected to a soul twin or a soulmate that still has not come into this journey yet, or has passed and has already left this journey.
And it could also be attributed to the fact that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and she just kind of feels that connection more with the spiritual realm than she does with the physical realm, and so she's just kind of drawn back there. So I'm wondering if she's going to have a full life. Sometimes when you have that draw, you get to stay here a little extra longer just to kind of realize why you're here. I don't know. It's very intriguing and interesting, and it's a puzzle I don't think we'll ever really quite understand.
Not until it's our time.
Right? So let's see. Did you guys want to share more about your experience together? Or, let's see, Vivian was saying, yes, I feel a ton more spiritually. So she feels more on the spiritual side than she does the physical. So she's kind of drawn back there. And a lot of people talk about the spiritual contract. Do you guys have any ideas on that? What exactly is a spiritual contract? And do you believe that those actually do exist?
I do, and I do believe they exist. I've had too many things happen in this lifetime to disbelieve at this point. I believe a spiritual contract follows us from one life to the next, and so on. I believe we have goals in a lifetime that we are supposed to fulfill to allow us to become more spiritually enlightened. It's almost a job, if you will. We sign these soul contracts and set what we're going to go through in our lifetime. We know when our souls know when we're going to die. Our souls know how we're going to die. They know the pain that we're going to feel. They know the hurt. They know the anger, the oppression, the depression, everything that we go through. It's been assigned to us. It's our lifeline. It's what we do. I 100% believe in soul contracts. I think they just make us better humans having that spiritual experience. It's a growth process.
Well, and I think there's certain lessons that we are here to learn, and a lot of times we don't learn them, and maybe that's why we go back through the wheel of life. Like, that's why we go back into another life. And out of all my kids, I have 4 kids total that I've birthed, and my youngest, she's the one that's, I know, has actually had a past life because she tells me about it all the time. It started when she was 1.5 years old, and she's tying a lanyard around her leg, and I'm like, hey, why are you doing that? You're cutting off the circulation to your leg, and if you try to walk, the circulation's probably going to be cut off, and you might fall down, and it's going to feel tingly, and then you get these pins and needles that are really, I hate that feeling. I hate walking on my leg when it falls asleep. But she's like, Mom, I have to tie it off or I'm going to bleed out. And she's 1.5 years old. I'm like, what the heck is my daughter talking about? And, a week or 2 later, she's like, remember when I was older and I was a man and I wore glasses and I was a nurse and all these other things? And I was like, no, I don't remember, but I believe you. And so she has these memories of this past life. None of my other kids have that, but I'm truly intrigued, and I always want to listen to her, and I want to let her know that I don't doubt her, and I want her to delve more into it and tell me more about it. And I don't know if that's going to hold her back or if that'll help her in this life to realize what her purpose is.
No, I think it'll help her, in her journey in this life. I would absolutely let her talk about it.
I agree completely. Yvonne in the chat room was saying, have you ever had experience of two people who have crossed over but are not together, i.e. can't find each other, so ask for your help?
Well, I've never had two people that have crossed over and could not find each other per se. I have had child spirits that have come to me that could not find their parents. And a lot of times they'll show themselves to me, and their clothing is dated, so you can kind of gather they're from the 1800s, early 1900s, 1950s, 1970s. And many times when doing a crossover, you can distinguish that their parents are on the other side already waiting for them. But I've never had two souls trying to find each other, no.
It's pretty interesting when that does happen, and a lot of times people do see child spirits and they're kind of leery of it because demons do try to portray themselves as kids, and so people aren't as trusting to them these days. A lot of times in the past they'd trust them and want to help them, and then a lot of times it turn out to be a demon trying to just gain that trust. But on the other hand, I've heard stories of children that have passed over and they haven't been able to find their parents, and it makes me wonder why they didn't come for them and why they are still trapped here. Perhaps they're just lost on an astral hop or wherever the heck they've gone, and they might come back sometime because time on the other side is different over here compared to what it is over there. It seems to move a lot faster and pass a lot quicker than it does here. It could take forever for us, but for that kid looking for their parent, it makes me wonder why their parent didn't come back for them. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think sometimes the parents, kind of like you said, there is no timeline, so I don't feel in many cases that the parent actually realizes that the child has passed, or vice versa. Once the parent has crossed over, they don't know where the child necessarily is hanging out. It's funny the places that I've come across children: hospital, church, cemetery. They're not always at the home or the place that the parent would think to look for them. I've had one time just in the middle of the street. So I guess the children kind of wander, and they don't know where to necessarily find the parent. And I don't know if the parent's kind of in heaven trying to figure out where they are. Never quite figured out the parent side of it, but that's the best answer I can really give to that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I find it really sad, and these children's spirit kind of connect to the adults and call them mom or dad, and just looking for that parental guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Viv was saying I was not saying I wanted to commit suicide, which I didn't pick that up at all. I'm trying to figure out where that came from. Maybe it was somebody in the chat room that was talking to her. But yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I do feel bad for these kids that are looking for their parents. We actually have a little girl ghost in the Durango Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad Museum. Her name is Emmy, and she has been alone except for Kate Johnson, who's another ghost. We were the ones that found her name and her story, but she came back. She was crossed over. She came back to take care of Emmy because there is a ghost there that kind of picks on her and doesn't allow her to communicate. But it makes me wonder when her parents are going to come back, if they are going to come back, and we're trying to find her story at the moment and try to figure out how to cross her over. And some people look down on that. Well, it's a trap. You shouldn't do that. But at the same time, she shouldn't be stuck at this railroad station, She has parents, she has family that she needs to go to. But I think she's kind of lost. I think she was killed very quickly and didn't realize for a long time she was dead, but I think she does now.
Right.
Realize that she is, and I don't know how exactly to help her. Are there any pointers that you can give me on helping her to, find her parents or get to the other side?
Many times with child spirits, you just kind of explain to them that their parents are there and they're probably waiting for them. Tessa, have you tried to do it with the flashlight?
I've actually seen the flashlight thing done, and I have team members that have done it, but we haven't tried it with Emmy. So perhaps that's something that we can try next time.
Yeah, a lot of times with kids, I don't know what the fascination is with the flashlight. I don't know if it's the light itself or the energy that it produces, but they seem to be drawn to that light, to the flashlight. And it just seems to be an easy thing for them to be able to manipulate and go towards. And two, I think visually when you're speaking of a light, I think children can interpret that as the light. I would try that and just explain to her that her parents are waiting for her.
That's a good
and
idea.
See if that kind of helps assist.
Yeah, the more we've dug, I think the closest story we found was she was riding on her bike, or she was small enough to even have a tricycle, but she got hit by the train, and she was the child of someone that worked for the train station, one of the hierarchies. And when we did get a picture of her and Kate together, they were both wearing the same sort of gear. They both had a white dress on, and they had this sparkly, flowery, headdress on their heads. And it was like they were prepped to go to the other side. But Kate, being she was raised Catholic and had this certain belief, was stuck there because she believed, being that she took her own life, she was supposed to be stuck in purgatory. So she was stuck on this train car. Emmy, on the other hand, didn't know quite what was going on, where exactly she was, why she was stuck there, where's her parents, but she was wearing the same sort of gear. So yeah, I would like to try that with her to see if that flashlight experience would work for her.
Yeah, good luck with that. It's pretty profound when it actually works.
Dell in the chat room was saying, have you all encountered ghosts who remember past lives, maybe distant past lives?
I've never asked a spirit about a past life. That'd be an interesting question. I've never even thought to ask a ghost about past life experience.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see how that would exactly come through. You'd really have to be very gifted and be able to pick up on a lot of things, and that spirit would have to be able to encumber those things. I think in this life you could remember more than, a spirit on the other side would. They're kind of stuck in the life that they were, and not perhaps the life that they had in the past. So that was an interesting question. Makes you kind of scratch your head and think.
I may have to ask that if I
know.
Get a chatty spirit next time.
Yeah, do you remember past lives? And then, there's psychics that do that. They do the past life regression and such. I'm kind of afraid to do it. I don't know why. Maybe I don't want to know. Or maybe I just don't trust somebody walking around in my head. Maybe they might fall over and break something, So I'm kind of scared to do that.
I have actually done it.
So what was your experience with it?
We only I did it one time, and we only got back to one past life with me. And unfortunately, the medium that I would entrust to do that has since passed with cancer. But actually, I was a young girl on an island that looked very much like Hawaii. And I was being kept or held by what appeared to be monks or a priest. I was gifted and misunderstood. And they were keeping me safe from basically being burned like a witch. So what the medium and myself got out of that is, once you learn how to use your gift, it's always with you. It stays with you this life, the next life. I think it's just going through the lives and getting to the point to where this is something that we learn to use, and then I think it's just expanding on that from that point forward. It was nothing I'd ever experienced before. It was very emotional. Going back in time and actually seeing yourself different, but knowing your soul and knowing that it's you. It was neat.
Yeah, you just kind of get that feeling. You just know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I've had people say, well, how do you know? Well, I don't know. I just know. I can't tell you how I know. I just know. But Yvonne, she's the one that was asking about the spirits that cross over that are lost from each other. She was saying both were grown women at death. However, at birth, a baby was raised by someone else. So perhaps one of them, I don't know, that's kind of confusing what she said. Perhaps there was a baby that one of them had that was raised by someone else because they couldn't take care of it themselves due to whatever may have happened, whether it be rape, molestation, or they were too young to care for that child and forced to give it up. So maybe they're stuck here trying to find that child that was put into the system and they don't know where exactly to find it.
That's interesting. Honestly, in my opinion on that, if they both passed as grown women at death, I would think they would immediately find each other upon death. They have that spiritual connection.
Yeah, and perhaps they had different paths after life because we all are given different gifts, different purposes. Perhaps one went one way. You're supposed to be over here in accounting or whatever, and you're supposed to be over here with spirit dispersion. You know, who knows if they were separated that way. And perhaps it is hard to find the child in spirit that was put through the system and raised by someone else because they don't really know who they were in, you know, in their birth life as opposed to their earth life with another family. Okay, so Amber came through and said that the place that she was taken care of was Malvern Manor. So that's what that house was that I was thinking you guys were in. It was Malvern Manor. Have you guys gone there at all to Malvern Manor or no?
No, never been there. That's a new one.
There's so much activity in there. I recommend you guys check it out. I'll have to ask her now. Where is that? I know she's in Ohio. You guys aren't too far from there, right? I mean, it's quite a jaunt, but not too bad.
It's a bit, but not any worse than Indiana.
Yeah, they're neighbors. So I'm thinking about more questions about your guys' path together, how you guys found each other, the different things you've done together. What are some other investigations you've gone on together and the different experiences that you've had together?
Alyssa, I'm going to let you take over for a little bit.
We've done several investigations together. I'm trying to to pick one to particularly speak on. I guess while I'm thinking about that, I don't know. There's a lot of them. So I'm trying to pick one.
How about the Baldwin house?
Oh yeah. I think we spoke about it before too. We did a investigation at a house that it took me and Caden a little while to find that had been vacant for, I don't know, probably 50 plus years. Falling in, it was crazy bad condition. I'm not sure why particularly I was drawn to that house so badly. I am now, but at the time I wasn't. But we went, and we actually had a documentary crew with us that day. And I don't think you were doing a sensory deprivation, or was it just we were just doing just a plain, we had the flashlight on the floor, and it came on, so Shannon started asking questions, and there was a male there that had a lot of mental and emotional issues, and this was not a healthy situation at all. And that was the very first part of it. That was kind of what we had gotten, and then you could kind of feel, like I said earlier, you could kind of feel the energy shift a little bit in the room, and this will always stand out to me. I had a pocket knife in my hand, and I was kind of fiddling with it. And for anybody that ever watches any of our videos, they'll see when I'm really focused or really honed in on something, I fidget with something in my hands all the time. Well, that day had a pocket knife in my hand. And when the energy started to shift, as soon as it did, Lisette looked at me and it was like, Alyssa, put that knife down right now, like your mom would say to you, And I was like, why? What is it? And she's like, I don't know. Just put it down right now. And then within 5 minutes of that, Shan asked if who we were communicating with ever had a soul. And the answer was no. And immediately, like everybody in the room's eyes got really big, and producer, you could hear everybody's heart beating out loud. And Shannon's like, okay, it's time for us to go, because as soon as that happened, saying the energy shifted isn't justifying. It was, you couldn't breathe. You could not breathe. And we all were just sweating profusely. It was, and sickly, and it was rough. We wrapped that up and left. And it's actually on the video. The documentary crew, me and Shannon were kind of on the side of the house after everything was done, and everybody was getting ready to leave, and we were talking to each other and kind of going over what we had both gotten and what all had happened and what had took place, and then going over some stuff we had coming up in the future. And the documentary crew come over there and was kind of standing to the side of us, recording us talking, and you hear us telling each other that house is going to self-dissipate. And I think, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after, something like that, the documentary crew that we were working with actually called and to inform us that they had went and shot it while it was happening. The house burned down. And
wow.
They spoke with the fire chief, and they could not find anything as to even where the fire started. There was no kind of evidence of any kind of squatters. And this house was way up on a hill, like it's not right by the road. It is way up off of the road into some trees in a high, high hill. And it was that one was pretty awesome. It was an awesome experience. And then saying that the hair stood up on the back of my neck is not the right word. Of the day that we found out, they called and told us that the house had burned down, and they told us what had happened. And I was like, oh my gosh. But you could tell, being in there and feeling it and listening and paying attention, you could tell that that house had so much, like, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, that was what was going to happen. Somehow, some way, it was going to be gone.
And wasn't there some sort of heads up, there was some sort of tip to somebody that was going to happen? That there was going to be a fire, like it wouldn't be there anymore?
I think we both said that we thought it would. I think the words we used was it was going to implode on each other and implode on itself, and it would probably be a fire.
Well, I'm just so glad you guys weren't there when it happened.
I know. I don't think we could have got down those, like, broken stairs quick enough.
No.
That would have been so scary.
It would have been.
Well, we have about 10 seconds before we go to break. So are you willing to do readings in the third hour, Shannon?
I will try. I'm actually on a 3-day migraine, so I will give it my best shot. But I do have a message for you, Tessa.
Okay. Well, let's put that on hold. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rockin'. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and I want you to come on a nightly journey. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, every Monday through Friday, you can come hang out with me and the other space travelers. We have it all from Carl the Alien bouncing on by to those misfit gnomes causing havoc. It's 3 hours of fun and entertainment on those topics the mainstream really doesn't want to touch. Come get all paranormal with us at spacedoutradio.com, and together, my friends, along with our resident guitar god Bumblefoot, we own the night.
Sit back, relax, grab a drink, and listen closely. Spaced Out Radio continues through the weekend. From the mile-high mountains of Colorado to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Weekend with Tessa Nicole Thomas.
I really love this intro music back into the last part of the show, and I always say this should be the second hour music because it gets me so pumped up, but maybe it's for a reason, because this is the third hour and we're kind of tapering off, but it gets me pumped up, the whoa, chaotic kind of music, and I know you guys can't hear it, Shannon and Alyssa, but perhaps you've heard it in past shows. But welcome back, and it's so great to have you guys on the show tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Man, we were hitting on so many different things in this past hour. Alyssa, you were talking about past lives and the spirit that had crossed over in your house. Can you kind of fill our listeners in on that? And before you get to that, let me share this number with everybody just so they know to call in. The number is 970-335-9596. 970-335-9596 before I forget to share it. But yeah, go ahead with what you were saying on the break about your spirit in your house and past lives and such.
Well, Caden had, it wasn't at our house, it was that place that Caden had seen, and once again, it was another place that we kind of just took off on foot, literally on foot, and walked, trying to find, and we found it, and we had a spirit come forward that, well, his name was George, was very talkative and very informative and very... Hello? Oh. Am I back now? Probably. I'm not sure. Am I back? Oh, they're saying that Caden's saying he can't hear me. Like he's got it pulled up across the house. I don't know. I don't. Okay. Okay. I don't know. I don't know where I was at. Like where I. What was it? Oh yeah. I thought about it when you asked Shannon about the past lives, if she had ever asked, a spirit about their past lives. We, like I said, we had a spirit come forward, and it was a male. His name was George. And I asked him if he had crossed over, and he responded with yes. And Caden's next question was, well, what did they do with you? And what we were asking, we're trying to figure out where he was buried or where his body had been placed or whatever. And he thought we were asking him, like, well, what do they do with you when you die? And his response was, they put me in a bag. And so then we were like, okay, so you crossed over and then you watched them? And his response then was, I had watched. Oh, he had watched like the entire process.
Stand still, Allisa.
I am. Oh my goodness. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. His answer was then explaining to us, like that he had watched the entire process after he died. He immediately crossed over, but he was capable and able to watch the process of what they did with his human body afterwards.
Oh, wow. Put him in the bag.
For me was... Do what?
He said that they had put him in the bag.
Yeah, he said they had put him in a bag and then proceeded to tell us, that they had put him in a bag and put him in the back of a car. And I think he said something about it being a long ride or a bumpy ride, something to that extent. I can't remember how he said that. It was something to that extent, though. And we kind of veered off of the topic after that, but it was pretty neat. For me, it was kind of a validation thing of what I already believed, like I spoke of earlier, about them not being stuck, when even if they do cross over, they can still come here if that's what they choose to do.
Well, it's pretty interesting that, had he crossed over, he can still communicate. And there's probably a reason for that. There's a reason that he needs to communicate. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, Corey's saying, I may need to call you back. But no, it's like it was cutting out, and then you were just fine the third time. And like I was saying in the chat room, third time's a charm. Let's try this again. And it did work this time. So that was interesting. How the paranormal just seems to interfere. Like, you're not supposed to be saying that. Vivian was saying about Shannon, if you're having a bad, long-lasting migraine, you should not push it.
Oh, I won't. Trust me, if I do any kind of connection tonight, it'll be short and sweet. The team can tell you that I tend to get migraines quite a bit when I've been doing readings or we've been on locations. So I won't. I promise. I've already
perhaps
had the team testing it and seeing if I feel better.
Yeah, and perhaps it's the spirit world. Sometimes it can be overwhelming and it can really make your head hurt. Like, I get stabbing pain sometimes and I'm like, oh God, where'd that come from? And different things come through. So maybe it's just a different trial and tribulation as far as having that gift or being connected with the other side. I don't know. It could be attributed to your cult that you've had as well. It could be nasal pressure or whatnot.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, it could be.
Lisette was saying, Shannon, don't forget to give Tessa her message, and I did forget that, and it was pretty on key. And if you would share with our listeners, what was your message to me?
Yeah, I told Tess it was very short and sweet because I have tried my best to not connect in the past 72 hours. But at about 12:30 today, it was simply an elderly lady that came in, and I explained to Tessa she appeared to be older than she really was, and it was simply fussing and telling Tessa that she needed to get more sleep. So,
and I totally agreed with that.
Very endearing.
Yeah, and she said she looked older than she really was, and I think it was my mom. My mom passed away when she was 33, but she had lived a long, full spiritual life. She communicated with the dead. She knew when she was going to die. She actually wrote a letter to her father from Colorado State to Arkansas because she came out here on conference and went to Mesa Verde, which is only like 45 minutes away from me. Into a kiva and saw 3 shaman doing some sort of ritual, which when she came up, my dad said she looked white as a sheet, and he's like, what's wrong? What's going on? And she told him she had interrupted a ritual, and they were very angry with her. And after that, she felt like every car on the road was after her, which their very next stop, she wrote her dad, sent it off in the mail. It got there before she got home, and they had a very tumultuous and deep conversation, a verbal fight about my grandpa telling her, you shouldn't write these things, blah, blah, blah. My mom had written him about how she was going to die, how she wanted her funeral, and how he needed to help her. Because she felt like her mom or nobody else would help her, but she felt like her dad would listen to her and help her out with that. And so he did. He came back and was like, okay, I will help you with that, after, hearing her side of the story. And it ended up happening exactly how she said. And she ended up passing in a car accident. And she had the funeral that she desired, which is awesome. Like, how many of us can actually do that unless we're really old and on our deathbeds and know how we're dying and when we're dying? But that was pretty interesting. And I feel like that was my mom because she was, far surpassing her years. Perhaps she's showing that age in her spirit self. Every time I've seen her, she looked the same to me as when she died, but who knows what she's been through. And I don't know what she's going on or going through on the other side because of, on this side, seeing and talking to the devil, making certain agreements, leading to her early death. he was right next to her bed when he appeared. When he came to me, at least he was in my doorway, so he was further away, and as soon as I saw him, I knew who he was. And I didn't even say out loud. I said in my head, God stands before me, Satan fall behind. And like I said, just like that, I was knocked out. I didn't have to deal with him anymore. I didn't have that long, lengthy conversation with him where he's trying to bend my mind to, do certain things. But he appeared to me. He appeared to my sister. He appeared to my mother. And I don't know who else in my family he has appeared to, but that was a pretty weird and interesting story for our lineage. But I could see her being older because of perhaps the stress on the other side that she may be dealing with. And she has had a lot of stress with us kids growing up. My sister was in a car accident, and she actually was seen by a spiritual friend of my sister when she got into her car accident, begging to God for him to spare her life. So perhaps that made her older and older on the other side. I don't know. But I feel like it was my mom.
I have to agree with you. It was very much a caretaker type of role and concern that came through. So, and like I said, it was very short and sweet. It was honestly very short and sweet. I don't even know how else to put it, but just, I need you to do this.
And Danny's saying, Hat Man.
Tessa.
Yeah, I know. I need to. Today I woke up pretty early for myself, and it was 9:30 or 10 in the morning, and generally I would sleep later, but I woke up thinking about omelets and eggs and stuff, and I was like, let's go have breakfast. So we went and had breakfast, and I've been up ever since. And even my husband was like, oh, why are you up so early? And I just couldn't go back to sleep because I'm thinking about food. And I'm like, let's go to Brenda's and have breakfast. And it's Saturday, so they serve breakfast all day. So I could have gone at noon or 1 or 3 or whenever. Oh, we got a call coming in. Let me add this to the group call. All right. Okay, we got a caller from area code 425. Who are we talking to?
Robin.
Hey, Sir Robin. How's it going? You actually made it through.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't have to call you this time. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
So my question is, how does it look for me for next year?
Well, Robin, I'm a medium, not a psychic. So it's I can't really answer that question. But what I can tell you is you do have a lot of people watching over you. So, and they're telling me to tell you to let go of whatever's burdening you and holding you back this year. Have you had a really rough year?
For some things, yeah.
Okay. They're saying that let it go.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I'm going to bet if you do that, and I have a feeling you kind of know what I'm talking about, that things will look a lot more up for you next year.
All right.
On to bigger and brighter.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good night. Uh-huh.
Thanks, Sir Robin.
You too.
Good night.
Bye.
I think that's the shortest call I've had from him.
He didn't seem like he had a whole lot of words going on tonight.
Yeah, it seemed like he probably answered his question, the question that he had, and so that's so awesome and good. I'm so grateful for that. And I'm looking in the chat room to see if we have anybody else asking questions, and I'm not seeing anything. So I'm thinking we should carry on with these things that we're discussing. have you ever had an encounter with the other side that was more than just a spirit, Shannon or Allisa?
I think we both have.
Yeah.
I know we have because we've had them together. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, spirit, soulless entity, residual, we've kind of dealt with it all in different locations. I won't use the term demon yet, but I would not be shocked if it is one that we are dealing with at Monroe. We've dealt with a soul collector. We've dealt with Wendigos, creatures. Am I missing anything, Allisa?
Oh, mercy. We had some, and I'm going to call them spirit because that's what it was. But I don't know how they had a soul to become one. In that same place. But I'm trying to think if we had one that was not spirit at another location. But I don't.
We've even dealt with elementals.
I had an
we've
elemental.
definitely dealt with.
Like in my early life, a fireball that hit our porch with a smack and then came through the center of our living room where we're all sitting and talking because the power went out. And then I heard my brother down the hallway, so it moved to the dining room area and then shot down towards him and through the back wall. I feel like that was not St. Elmo's fireball. I feel like it was an intelligent fireball. It was very interesting, and I've actually seen an alien orb that looked kind of like that, but the fire that was enclosed in it was enclosed. It was like liquid fire flowing through it with this alien element, but with this other one it was more like flame, like you could see the flames on the outside of the orb. So it was pretty interesting.
Wow.
I don't think it was some St. Elmo's fireball. I think it was some sort of intelligent element. What are your thoughts on that?
Exactly. When dealing with elementals, their ability is simply that, to be able to use the elements that are given to them. And that's how they're intelligent, but they can't necessarily speak, but they learn to communicate. You've had the fireballs. We've seen water where it'll just sit and spin. I'm trying to think of some of the different ones I've seen. That's the two that come to mind. I think sometimes even just, the electricity, the light flickering and stuff is simply an elemental. That just want to get your attention and get their point across. That they're there too. I wish I knew what they were exactly. I don't really know what creates them.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
My researcher.
I'm sorry, what?
I said Caden might know what creates them. He's my researcher.
Yeah, people have told me through the years, oh, well, you saw it up on a fire pole, so that was part of the thunderstorm, and that's what that was. But like I said, it was intelligent. It hit the porch with a clap, came through the floorboards,
right,
and then moved into the dining room, and then shot down the hallway at my brother that was moving. He was getting the clothes out of the dryer, and as he was coming down the hallway, collapsed on the floor because it shot towards him, and it went out the back wall. Like, it had a mind of its own, which I do believe fire does as well. I've seen fire work and jump from place to place and do whatever it feels it needs to do. It has a certain mind of its own, and it's really creepy, really, if you think about it. But yeah, this thing was intelligent. And I don't think it was just a fireball from the storm that was going on. I think it was something else. And I've been trying to figure it out,
Right.
but I don't know what it was.
Yeah, we actually have a location, a private client that we've been working with, and it seems that a lot of the activity actually happens that they've got an above ground pool, and it seems like the portal or vortex that's created is using that element, that elemental energy, to manifest itself. It's pretty interesting. Not something I'll probably ever be able to figure out, but hopefully somebody will.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify this kind of quick because I just now seen it. I just now clicked on here and seen it. Where Corey commented in the chat about the demons. I have encountered a lot of different things that weren't spirit and astral, but not on investigations like, with our team and such, what we spoke about. But in astral, I have seen them. I've seen a lot of things that weren't spirit. It can be scary. Yeah, they're, I don't know. I'm not good at describing stuff either. I'm horrible at it. I'm the worst person in the world. And I kind of pun about the fact that I've been given them the gift of some of the abilities I have because prior to receiving them, I was not the way I am now with words. Like, I just wasn't. And I am now, and it's just strange how that kind of worked, but I'm horrible at explaining things. Like, there's been times where I've tried to explain to Shannon some of the stuff I've seen, or Hayden or Lisette, and I know they're just looking at me like, dude, what? Because I'm like, well, it was this color, and it had this, and eyes were like this, and it had this on its back, and it had this, and had this, and they're just like, Alyssa, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right?
Because I'm horrible at trying to explain things.
Well, what was humorous was when you were going through your purge process,
Mhm.
and that's kind of what we refer to at Tessa when you kind of go through where she was talking about the very humbling, where you feel, where your mind and your body is just going through this cleansing. I've just always called it the purge. But she started seeing auras around everybody.
Oh, I thought I was going crazy again.
You're like, I lost my marbles.
I really did ask them if I was losing my mind. I was like, am I really seeing this or what?
I don't know, but you're purple right now.
Yeah. You got some purple, and there's little spots in there.
Right? You're like, what the heck is this? What's happening?
It was even more insane when I started, like, it started with people. And then, Shan, do you remember when I was like, okay, this, what was it? It was at the hospital that we went to, and there was like a random inanimate object on a table, and I was like, Shan.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to go through the fan again.
Uh-oh. I said something about the hospital.
Right? They're like, quit talking about that.
Right. Like, it can't be my service because my service is, like, all the way up.
Well, it's like you're really clear, and then once you start to talk about something that's really important, it starts to break you up. Like what I'm accumulating it to is like being within the blades of a fan. Like, it's like, and so you can hear like little portions of it, and then you're back, and then we're like, okay, what did you say again? And then
It
you say it
happens
again.
when I get excited.
Yeah, and then you'll say it again, and it'll be like brrr, going through what you're saying. And third time, like I said, is a charm. Once you do it the third time, it actually finally comes through. So it's really odd. Paranormal.
We were on an investigation at the hospital, and there was this object on a table, and I remember asking Shannon if she'd seen that, and she just kind of looked at me for a minute. So then I started, like, looking around to see if somebody was shining that color flashlight somewhere. You know, and there was nothing there. There was no rhyme or reason for it, although I tried really hard to come up with one.
Well, actually there was, because we discussed how inanimate objects can actually hold residual.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I meant like the flashlight thing,
Yeah,
though.
I gotcha. But I wanted to clarify. But
yeah.
Anything can have an aura.
Well, Jade
Oh,
is...
yes, it can.
Jade's asking in the chat room, can Shannon tell who is with me in spirit, especially lately? And she continues with little sparks of light in my house that my son and I have seen.
Trying to find where she wrote it, because it's usually easier for me to connect if I see something to connect to. So.
Yeah, she's in SOR Space Travelers. I don't know if you can get in there.
Probably
maybe
not.
Let me take a screenshot and send that to you so you can see it. Maybe that'll help. Okay, I found you. There's Shannon. Okay, here's the picture. Sending now.
All right, Tessa, let me see.
And it shows her picture and everything, so hopefully that helps.
Actually, it's guidance trying to connect with her.
A guide?
But yes, but I think it's preparing her because I think her child is gifted. She said it was a little boy, didn't she?
Yeah, her son.
Yes.
That's
About
interesting.
7. I'm trying to see where you sent it to me. I can't find it again.
I sent it in Messenger.
I found it. Yeah, she needs to prepare herself. She's got a child that's gifted, and she needs to be prepared.
Yeah, we've actually had that in our house, and it was around Christmas time, and I'm sitting there in the living room with my roommate, Brian, which is now my roommate again. It seems like he keeps coming into the picture. But we're all sitting in the living room, and he's like, oh my God, did you just see that? And he saw this thing on the ceiling that was just sparkling. He said it was like sparklers, silver colored. And he's like, what the hell was that? And I was like, I don't know. All I saw was a light out of the peripheral of my vision, but I didn't see the sparkliness of it. And he's like, I don't know what that was. And I'm like, I have no idea, but that's pretty cool you saw it. Because I had been getting all kinds of really large and bright orb pictures of the kids decorating the Christmas tree. And like I was saying before, my dad and my mother had passed, and others before them and after them. And so I was like, man, it's a number of people that it could be, just like, you know, being with us during this time, decorating the tree and getting ready for the holidays. And so it was interesting that he saw, like Jade was saying, those sparks of light. So perhaps it is a guardian or somebody trying to pass on a message.
Right. And with her, I see it being guidance that is actually connecting to both of them in preparation for what's to come with her son.
Yeah, she has.
That's neat.
I don't ever say it right. Uriel, is that how you say it? Is that how you
Uriel?
say it? Yeah. Like really really there.
Yeah, Uriel and Raphael would be the archangels for her to reach out to, along with guidance, because I see a little girl that's there and is kind of already watching over, and I would suspect the child's already come to her and spoke to her about his playmate.
Mm-hmm.
Just be prepared. I would tell her to be very prepared.
I'm like looking. I'm so excited to see her response.
Chip Coffee has the book out, and I can't think of the name of it.
I love Chip.
But I bought it for my daughters. I bought it for my daughters when they started seeing things and talking to spirit. And it's in their bedroom. Of course, it's not in my room.
Right.
I wish I could think of the name of it, because it's an awesome book for parents dealing with children that are gifted.
I wish my parents would have had that.
Yeah, mine too.
They didn't think, my parents didn't think I was crazy. They just didn't know what to do.
Right. That's how mine were.
But now the people I went to school with, and they all thought I was freaking nuts. But my parents never did. I mean, they listened. They just didn't know what to do.
It's called growing up psychic.
Right. My parents didn't really shun me, but my aunt, who came in and got me when I was about 7 years old, she was afraid of the other side, and she still is today. Like, anytime I try to talk to her about what I do and the paranormal and stuff, she's like, don't talk about it. I don't want to hear it. Like, it's really freaking me out. I'm like, okay, let's not talk about this stuff when Mom's around. And we've even talked about saging her house because they would dog sit and stuff, and one of the dogs actually died in their house. And my sister was going out to the garage, and when she went out, she saw this dog that was the one that had passed away, and it growled and it ran towards her and jumped to attack her, and then it was gone. But it really freaked her out because she's like, what did I do? Why is he mad at me? And I was like, I think he's just lost. He doesn't know what's going on, and he's lost and scared. And so he was just like lashing out. And so, I don't know. And it was right where she had laid him too. She had laid this body here before she put him in the freezer, before the little puppy corner or whatever they have in Phoenix, Arizona, came out to, look at and adjust the dog or whatever. But yeah, she's like, he was there and he was laying down and he got up and he looked at me and he growled and he ran towards me like he was going to attack me. And I was like, I think he was just kind of scared and lost. He ended up going into her, I think it was in her closet. I don't know if that's the story that they told. I don't know if he went into her closet or if he was actually on her bed, but it was in her room somewhere. And then when she went out a day or so later is when he spiritually tried to attack her. And I was like, I don't think it's anything personal. I think he's just kind of scared and lost and doesn't know where his daddy is. Yeah, and she's like, we need to sage this house. And I was like, I don't know if that's what we really actually need to do, but we brought it up to my mom, and she's like, no, not in my house. Not in my house. And so we never got to do it. And we still have the sage sitting there on a candle, waiting to be burned to cleanse the house. And we're thinking, oh, when Mom goes to work, we'll do it. But then we never do it because she'll know. She just knows. She just always knows. So we haven't done it yet. I don't know. Maybe next time I go down there, I'll do it. But as of now, I'm kind of scared because I've always kind of had that internal fear of my auntie, aka now my adopted mom, because she just always knows. If I do it, and even if the smell is gone before she gets there, she'll walk in the house, feel the change of energy, and be like, okay, what did you guys do? And I can't lie to her, I don't know what to do.
The learning experience.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking me, can you do spiritual work for me and I'll pay you? I don't believe in that. I've known different psychics that go into the money realm where they get paid lots and lots of money to do what they're doing, but then they end up losing their gifts. Do you find that the people that end up trying to take money for their gifts end up losing it?
Yep. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I believe that there is a way that you can, make money off of doing what you do. But first and foremost, it's a gift. And in my opinion, it's because people will tell me all the time, well, it's give and take. Yes, but what I get back is the joy of giving the reading. So I do feel like I get back. Sometimes I feel like I get back more than the person I'm reading for because it's so fulfilling. I guess I wouldn't say by taking money, but I feel like if you abuse it, you can lose it. I've had people, it's their source of income, yada, yada. That's not for me. In doing readings and, having our private clients and something, I personally, and I know Alyssa's the same way, and my team's the same way, it's just not something we could charge for.
No, I cannot fathom how people do that. I can't. I don't get it, because it's like Shannon said, the fulfillment that you get when you do it, there's just not any words to explain it, and every time I try, I get really, really, really emotional. But it's a feeling that I don't know. I remember thinking to myself, when I was going through the rough parts that I spoke of earlier, and I spoke about, calling Shannon and telling her, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's too hard. It's too rough, and I can't do it. Because it was so bad at that time. I remember telling myself and thinking to myself the reason why I began to, why I agreed to start it anyway. Why I was okay with doing it anyway, why I wanted to anyway. And that reason was because, and it all goes back to the reading that I got from Shannon, with my daughter. If I am capable of ever, even if it's only one time, giving someone what she gave me, then any and all of it is worth it. Because, I don't have words to describe what she did for me with mine. And knowing that you have the capability to give someone something that they can't get anywhere else, to be real honest. And you can't they can't go to a doctor. They can't take a magic pill and get what their soul and their heart needs to heal from some things. And knowing that you can do that for somebody, or you have the possibility to do that for somebody, I don't understand how you could take money from someone who is asking you for that when you have the ability to do it. I can't understand it.
Well, especially when it's a lost loved one, like somebody you're looking for. Are they dead? Are they alive? Are they okay? I've heard of people taking thousands and thousands of dollars and not really giving the answer. They're just taking advantage. And it's just sad and overwhelming. It's already a hard enough process as it is. You should not even have to be going through this in life, but you have to because that's where you've been put. But then this person is taking advantage because they can. They have that name. So I'm going to charge you $25,000 or whatever. I think that's just going to take your gifts. Take it. Because you're taking from someone else. You're taking their spiritual willpower and their hope and all these other things that go along with it, and it's just pure and utter evil. You're just taking advantage.
Right. And I'm going to go there. I have a cousin of mine. I'm not going to mention any names on here, but her husband committed suicide, and she knows what I do. And she called me one day, and she was like, "Okay, I've been calling this 800 line." I'm like, "Oh boy."
You're right.
And she said, and I keep calling because she keeps telling me that he's got the money buried. The money's buried. And every time I call, she gives me more information. And I'm like, stop. Just stop right there. I said, don't you think if she was connecting with your husband and he had the money buried and he was telling her that, which, by the way, that's not how this works, that she would have told you all of that? Well, but she doesn't stay connected with him long enough to find all of it out. No, honey. She wants you to call because every time you call, you're paying her bills. It blows my mind at how somebody can sit on the other side of an 800 line and just take money from people and probably giving the same spill to every single caller.
Miss Cleo.
Well, yeah, and that's not how this gift works. When they cross over, they are in. It's love. They're not worried about where the money's buried in the backyard. They're worried about telling you not to worry about them, and they're okay. And it's very peaceful where they are. And let the kids know that I love and miss them. They're not. I mean, money is of no consequence to a past loved one.
Well, when my mom came through, it's like you said. Let your brothers and sisters and your dad know I love them and I'm okay. And that was the main message that I got from her. I'm okay. Everything's going to be okay. And that's what she wanted to put across. But some people, I do believe, are so shallow that they are connected to this money they buried because that's all they worried about in life. Let's bury this money so nobody can take it. Or they're connected to this washboard, this piece of beautiful furniture with this basin and pitcher that you wash up in. They're attached to that, or they're attached to this sewing machine or this bed or whatever they're attached to, whatever their insistence was upon, they could still be attached to. So there's different things I believe that shallowly and spiritually they could still be clinging on to because that's what they did throughout their life. They were just attached to this certain thing. Whether it's their favorite dress, their favorite piece of furniture, their money that they buried all over the place. Like there's different things that they are attached to and they can't get past it spiritually because that's what they were so indulged in physically in their physical lives. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe that that's true, but when you're connecting with the energy of the person that you're reading for in spiritual energy, I don't think that the dresses and the wardrobe and the shift robe and the money is the connection that comes through, unless the living person specifically asks about those things. The person that's passed is basically, giving responses. Whether or not we hear them, they're literally giving that validation and the response to the living. So I agree that there are probably things that they're still attached to. They just don't come through in reading. Unless, Joe's sitting here asking, well, what do you think about this? Does that make sense? I've never had a spirit ask me, ask Mom how my dress is doing.
Well, it's interesting because I've heard stories of different hauntings and tearing families apart. There's this girl that was in love with a guy and they got married and pregnant. They ended up having a kid and they decided as she was pregnant to go out and buy a piece of antique furniture. And they brought this wash basin home. And after that, it was just contention and, all these things you hear about with connections to the other side. Some sort of entity coming in, tearing them apart. And she ended up divorcing him. And then she ended up taking this wash basin with her. And it affected her life the whole time until she finally had some Zen medium come in and be like, everything's all good except for this wash basin. Like, there's something connected to this. It's causing turmoil and contention in your life. And she took it out finally. Not wanting to, really, because she loved it so much. She took it out, right, let it go for free, and then everything was fine after that. There's different things connected to, and it seems really petty, like a piece of clothing, or a piece of furniture, or a house, or a piece of property, or whatever. They just seem to dwell there and continue on with causing turmoil or contention or whatever, because it was a negative life for them, so they're carrying on the negative life for other people and causing contention and separation and whatnot in these other lives. It's pretty interesting, all the different stories that do come through.
Right. And I see that different than, I guess I was reading it wrong, because I see that different than doing an actual reading. Mm-hmm. That's where there's almost like a residual connection to that piece of furniture or that dress or that home, where it carries the energy of a situation or an instance or the anger or the energy of that person, if that makes better sense. And when we're doing a reading, those pieces don't ever really come into play.
Yeah, and it's kind of like when you guys were in that house and Caden set that flashlight on this piece of furniture and he's asking whether this spirit is demonic or whatnot. Perhaps that piece of furniture is what that person was connected to. Like, he was able to communicate through that flashlight. Is it the house or is it the furniture? What exactly is the spirit attached to? And it's really hard to tell sometimes. What are you going to do? Move out every piece of furniture and then figure it out from there? Or are you going to be able to focus on a certain focal point and figure out this is where the vortex is or the portal or wherever this stuff is coming through? What are your guys' experiences on portals and vortexes in houses?
We're kind of new at the whole vortex thing. I'm kind of wrapping my head around that one. Portals, oh my gosh. Most of the portals that we have dealt with in locations are manifested and created because people didn't know what they were doing. And I would literally say probably 99% of them have been created that way. We've started studying landmines to see if we can connect any of those to any locations. But it's honestly mostly been people dabbling in things and not really knowing what they're doing that's created portals. We shut down, was it 39 at Monroe?
Yes.
In one room.
It was.
That was just in one room. And that was because there's 2 Ouija boards in that one room that people go in there and use constantly and never shut their sessions down. So it's a fourth manipulation of energy.
It's very funny and intriguing, and my husband and I were talking about this last week. We're talking about Ouija boards, and he's like, well, it's just, a game they put out there, but I think it's more than that. And I'm like, yeah, what more genius way to put something out there like that to bring in the darkness than to say, oh, this is just a parlor game. It's a parlor trick. This isn't real. Play this. Like, kids 6 and up can play this game. And it's on every shelf in every store that you can find. And then you're opening portals and vortexes all over the place because people generally use it and get scared and run away and they don't close it out the way they should. And so there's all kinds of things coming through. And at first it might be your mother or your father or your long-lost loved one that you're trying to communicate with. But then at the same time, then something else, the more you use it, comes through. You're opening this hole wider and wider and wider. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, like I said, they run away and don't close it correctly, or they don't use it correctly. And because they manufacture it as, this is just a parlor game. What are your thoughts on it? What do you think about the Ouija board?
I'll let you take this one, Allisa.
Before I do, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, and I don't have... Everybody has their personal thing. Me personally, and a lot of people try to say that what we do when we channel is no different, but it is very different in the way that we do it. When you use a Ouija board, you are giving permission for, whether it be spirit or an entity or whatever, to use your vessel because your body is touching the planchette. And you are giving them permission to use your vessel. Okay, rules and laws don't work in that realm like they do here. And some of them might feel like they have no reason to follow any rules, for that matter. So you can't say, okay, you can use my hands to move this planchette to tell me your story, but after that you can't use me anymore. Does that make sense? To me, it's just too dangerous. It's, in my honest opinion, in most cases, it is completely reckless, because most people that end up using a Ouija board have no idea what they're doing at the time, and you have no way of knowing that who you're speaking to is who they say they are. Your dear Aunt Sally could come through, and your dear Aunt Sally thinks your dear Aunt Sally, and she ain't never have a soul. And she's just waiting and has been sitting and waiting on somebody to do exactly what you're doing. It's dangerous, it's reckless, and I, for one, will never I'll never partake in that.
Shannon, your thoughts?
They very much mimic hers. I've also heard people saying, well, what's the difference? The difference is that when we use a spirit box or a portal or a flashlight, we're not inviting anything to use our energy. Even when we're doing readings, we are communicating with spirit, but spirit is not using our energy. They are allowing us to see and hear and connect, but they're not using our energy. They're not draining our energy. And when you're using a Ouija board, you're inviting a spirit to use you as a tool. And we as a team don't use them, and it's just, I think they're a bad idea.
Corey in the chat room is saying, Ouija board is a tool just like any other tool. If you don't know how to use it, it can hurt you or kill you.
Yeah,
which is true.
Very true.
And the way they manufacture it to younger people and, on up, like, it's just crazy. Like, little kids, they get scared very easily and they just run away. They don't close it out. They don't read instructions, or like I like to call them destructions. Destructions. They don't know how to close it out. They don't know how to properly use it, and so they can easily abuse it. And it's just crazy in my thought process how exactly they're manufacturing this, and it's genius idea. Genius. How do we let the dark world take over? Let's manufacture it to kids and on up, 6 years old plus, or eight plus, you know. Right. I can't remember exactly the years because I don't have one on my own. I've read different things, but it's just insane to me. But it's very genius. All right, well, we got to go to our closing audio. Can you gals tell us how to get a hold of you, your websites, and ways to contact you?
Go ahead, Alyssa. You know Katie's number.
Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to give his number out, but we do have a Facebook page for our team, and you'll find all of our profiles on there, in which you can select, and you can go to our personal profiles. On Facebook, our name is Death Stalkers Paranormal, and you'll see all of us. And Caden's number, along with Lisette's number, are posted on our page. But I can tell everyone Caden's just in case they have anything they need to call about or anything like that. It's 662-284-6502. And, you know, once again, we don't charge for anything that we do. We pay for all of our expense, all of our travel, and just blatantly honest, we just want to help people, you know, as much as we possibly can. And, you know, like I said, if there's anything that somebody needs help with, or they need to call about, or anything of that sort, don't hesitate at all.
You know, we've worked with missing person cases, questions, answers, connecting with loved ones. We've done a little bit of it all.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being my guests on the show tonight, and it was a wonderful time having you on the show this evening, and I'm so grateful to have you here tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
And thank you to everyone in Spaced Out Radio, Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Paranormal Radio, TalkStream Live, Deep Talk Radio, and wherever else in the universe you're listening tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and it was my pleasure, literally and figuratively, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow night on Spaced Out Radio at spacedoutradio.com. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light to all my space cases out there. You guys have a wonderful Sunday. I'll see you all back here tomorrow night. And don't forget, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we own the night. You guys, if you want to come into the after party, the number is 970-335-9596. That's 970-335-9596. Take care of my youths. See you tomorrow.